We want the color palette to be primarily whites and golds, very elegant.
Excellent choice, noted. And for the lighting?
Good morning.
You are the bride of the wedding you have been planning.
Promise to stand by you, love you fiercely, and choose you every day.
And I promise to be your constant, your partner, and your wife always.
The morning schedule for Tuesday, the 14th of June, as prepared by Iris Vance and placed on Jace Hahn's desk at 7:59 a.m., reads as follows. 8 a.m., call at the Singapore office, 9:15, review of the Meridian Tower acquisition documents, 10:30, meeting with a federal contact attorney, private, no notes, 12, lunch with a Drummond account, 2 p.m., board call, Hahn Capital Legitimate Holdings, for security rotation review with Marcus. It is a full day. Iris has organized full days for Jace Hahn for 2 years, and she knows the specific texture of each kind. The days that are dense with legitimate business, the days that are dense with the other kind, the days that are a managed combination of both that require the specific logistical intelligence of a woman who knows exactly what she is scheduling and never writes in a way that says so. She is 29 years old, deep dark brown skin, natural hair worn in a sleek low bun secured with 2 pins on working days, with sharp eyes behind wireframe glasses that she's been told more than once make her look formidable, which she considers a feature rather than a concern. She is slim and precise in her movements, the kind of woman who enters a room and immediately understands its architecture, its people, and its exits. She is organized in the way of someone for whom organization is not a skill, but a language. The primary one, the one she thinks in, the one she dreams in on the evenings when she dreams about work, which is most of them. She has been working for Jace Hahn for 2 years. In those 2 years, she has organized his calendar with the systematic precision of someone who understands that time is the most finite resource a powerful man has, and that managing it well is not administrative support, but strategic. She has managed his security rotations, handled his legitimate business correspondence, screened his calls with the accuracy of a system that knows the difference between the people who need to reach him and the people who think they do. She has anticipated his needs before he expressed them in the specific way of someone who has spent enough time in the same space as a person to understand how that person thinks. And she has learned to read his silences with fluency she did not set out to develop and cannot now undo. Jace Hahn is 35 years old, second-generation Korean American, with a sharp, angular jaw and dark almond eyes and short, clean black hair, and the lean, broad-shouldered build of a man whose physical presence is simply a fact of the room rather than something performed. He runs Hahn Capital, partly a legitimate private equity firm with a board and quarterly reports and a reception desk staffed by a woman named Chloe who knows nothing, and partly the operational center of a network that has kept federal law enforcement occupied for a decade without producing a result. He is composed in a way that is not calm but controlled, the specific composure of a man who has decided that reaction is a form of information he does not give away for free, who has made this decision so thoroughly and for so long that it has become simply the texture of who he is. For the past 18 months, he has been cooperating quietly with a federal contact toward a clean exit from the network. This is not something Iris knows in its full detail. She knows the shape of it, the calls she schedules that have no notes attached, the attorney who comes without being on a public calendar, the specific quality of Jace's attention in the weeks after those meetings, the way the legitimate side of Hahn Capital has been expanding in inverse proportion to things she does not ask about. She knows the shape of it, and she does not ask about the interior, because she has understood since the first month that what she does not ask about she cannot be asked about, and that this is a form of protection he has extended to her without calling it that. She has been in love with Jace Hahn for approximately 14 months. She has not told him. She has not told anyone. She has filed it in the drawer she keeps for things that are true, but not actionable. The drawer is metaphorical, but the filing is real, careful, and thorough, and she goes to work every morning and does her job with the complete professionalism of a woman who has decided that loving someone you work for is a private matter, and she is keeping it that way for as long as keeping it that way is the right decision, which she has assessed and reassessed, and concluded every time is still yes. She does not let it affect her work. She does not let it affect her composure. She does not let it affect the specific professional distance she maintains. The distance has always been there between them, and that she has always maintained because she understood from the beginning that the distance was the thing that made everything else possible. On a Tuesday morning in June, Jace calls her into his office at 8:55, between the Singapore call and the acquisition documents. She comes in with her notebook and her pen and sits in the chair across his desk, the chair she sits in every morning, the one that is positioned at exactly the right angle for taking notes and making eye contact in the specific proportion that a morning briefing requires. He tells her he is getting married. She holds herself completely together. She has been practicing holding herself completely together for 14 months, and she is very good at it now. The specific internal effort of a woman who has built a containment through repetition, who has held herself together through his calls about Celeste, through the lunch with the Drummond account on today's schedule, through 14 months of mornings in this chair, and she holds herself together now with the same precision she brings to everything. She asks who the woman is. Celeste Drummond, the daughter of Warren Drummond, Chicago real estate developer, whose property portfolio overlaps significantly with Jace's legitimate business interests, and whose political connections are the kind that cannot be purchased outright, but can be acquired through family. Warren approached Jace 8 months ago at a business dinner, proposed a family connection as a way to formalize their overlapping interests, a practical arrangement between practical men. Jace agreed because at the time he considered personal life a separate category from practical decisions, and the arrangement was practical. He says he and Celeste have an understanding. Iris, who speaks fluent Jace Han, understands this to mean that neither of them is in love with the other, and both of them have agreed to proceed anyway for reasons that have more to do with business than feeling. She understands this, and she files it, and she holds herself together, and she asks when the date is. December, he says, 6 months. Then he tells her he needs her to plan the wedding. He says this with the specific directness of a man who trusts exactly one person with everything that matters, and that person is currently sitting across his desk with a notebook and a pen and the composed professional expression that she wears like a second skin. Iris looks at him. She thinks about 14 months of a private drawer. She thinks about what it means to be the most trusted person in someone's life and not the most important one. The specific geography of that, how close those two things are, and how completely different. She thinks about the distance she has always maintained, and the fact that she is about to spend 6 months planning a wedding on the other side of it for a man she is in love with for a woman she has never met. Of course, she says, I will need the guest list parameters, the budget ceiling, and Celeste's contact information for preference coordination. I will have them to you by end of day. She opens her notebook. She begins to write. She does not let him see her face while she is writing. She angles the notebook slightly and keeps her eyes on the page, and he does not ask to see it, which is either consideration or simply the distance between them which neither of them has ever addressed. She leaves his office. She goes back to her desk. She opens a new project file on her computer and labels it Han Wedding, December. She begins. She plans a wedding with the same precision she brings to everything. Venue research, caterer's shortlist, florist consultations, invitation design, security logistics for a guest list that includes people who cannot be in the same room as other people without careful management. She approaches it with the systematic efficiency of someone who has been running a powerful man's life for 2 years and understands that the best work is the work that looks effortless from the outside regardless of what it costs from the inside. She plans it perfectly because she is Iris Vance and she does not know how to do anything imperfectly. She plans it perfectly for a man she loves, for a woman she has never met. This is where the story begins. Oh, wow. She is in love with him, and he just asked her to plan his wedding. And she said yes. If this already has your heart hurting, smash that like button and subscribe to Echo True Stories. Drop a comment right now. Would you have been able to do it? Because Iris is about to plan the most painful 6 months of her life, and next chapter is going to show you exactly how she does it. Celeste Drummond arrives at Han Capital for the first wedding planning meeting on a Thursday morning in late June, 12 minutes late, in a cream coat that costs more than Iris earns in a month and with a specific quality of present a woman who has never in her life in a room and wondered whether she belonged in it. She is 32 years old, white American, expensively maintained the way of women who treat their appearance as a professional obligation, not vanity, management. She looks at Iris when she is shown to the conference room, and something happens in her expression in the first 30 seconds that Iris recognizes immediately because she has seen it before in other rooms with other people who make the same calculation. She has decided what category Iris belongs in. The category is furniture. Iris notes this and does not adjust her behavior in any direction. She runs the meeting with the same precision she brings to everything. Venue options presented on a prepared deck. Timeline established. Preferences solicited through questions that are specific enough to produce useful answers. Decisions documented in real time. She is professional and thorough and completely invisible to Celeste in a way that excellent assistants often are to people who cannot see the difference between service and servitude. Celeste speaks to her the way people speak to the air around a task they want completed. Not rudely, exactly, but without acknowledgement that there is a person performing the task, which is its own kind of thing. Jace sits at the end of the table. He is present because Iris requested his presence at the first planning session. She needed his sign-off on the budget ceiling rather than because she thought he would contribute substantively to a conversation about floor arrangements, which he does not. He watches the meeting the way he watches everything. Completely, precisely, without appearing to watch anything at all. The specific quality of attention that is at default in rooms where his decided observation is more useful than participation. He notices the way Celeste speaks to Iris. He does not say anything about it during the meeting. He signs a budget authorization. He answers the 2 direct questions Iris asks him about guest list security requirements. He watches. He does not say anything. After Celeste leaves, 12 minutes after the meeting formally ends, still on her phone, Iris is at the conference table packing up the meeting materials with the focused efficiency she uses to manage transitions between tasks. Not rushing, not lingering, moving with the economical precision of a woman who does not waste motion. She was rude to you, Jay says. He is still at the end of the table. He has not moved toward the door. Iris does not look up from the materials. She was direct, she says. I appreciate directness. There is a difference between direct and dismissive. I am aware of the difference. She looks up then, briefly, with a professional face, the composed, specific expression she keeps for moments when what she is actually feeling is not the appropriate thing to show. I can handle the planning without further joint meetings, if you prefer. I will coordinate with Celeste's assistant directly for preference input. It will be more efficient. Jace looks at her for a moment. Is that what you prefer? She holds his gaze for exactly as long as is professional. It is what is most efficient, she says, which is the same thing. She picks up the meeting folder in her laptop, and she leaves before he can say anything else because she understands, with the accuracy of a woman who has been reading this man's silences for 2 years, that whatever he is about to say next is something she needs to not be in the room for. In the corridor, she breathes for a moment. Then she goes back to her desk. She sends an email to Patrice, Celeste's assistant, proposing a direct communication channel for preference coordination. Patrice responds within 4 minutes with the energy of a woman who has been waiting for someone to take this off her hands. The planning proceeds. Iris books the venue, the Meridian Grand Ballroom, which can accommodate 400 guests and has a security infrastructure that a guest list like Jace's requires. The specific combination, capacity, and controllability that she has been researching for 10 days. She sources the florist, the photographer, the string quartet, the caterer. She manages every vendor with the authority of someone who has been running a powerful man's life for 2 years and expects to be taken seriously, which she is, because the authority is real and it shows. She and Jace have coffee every morning as always. 10 minutes at his desk, the schedule, the day's priorities, the decisions that requires direct input. She presents the wedding decisions in the same register as the business decisions. Clear, specific, ready for sign-off. He signs off. He asks, occasionally, for her opinion on things that are not strictly within her job description. What does she think of the Meridian Grand Ballroom for this occasion? She thinks it is appropriate. The security infrastructure is solid, and the room has a quality of occasion that the guest list warrants. Does the proposed menu feel right for the tone they are trying to achieve? She thinks the menu is technically correct. She has one recommendation on the dessert course, which she presents in 3 sentences. Does the invitation design convey the right impression? She thinks the first option is stronger than the second. The second is trying too hard. He accepts all her opinions without discussion, which is how he has always accepted her professional judgments, and she gives them with the same professional precision as everything else, and does not examine too closely why he is asking, or what it means that he is asking at all when the answers are for a wedding that is not about either of them. 3 weeks into the planning, Iris goes home on a Thursday evening. She does not often go home and simply feel things. She is not a woman who has a lot of patience for unstructured emotional states. She finds them inefficient, and she tends to move through them by giving them a specific amount of time and then making notes. But this particular Thursday evening, she sits on her couch in her apartment with a planning file closed on her coffee table, and she lets it happen. She cries, not dramatically. Iris does not do anything dramatically, but quietly and completely, with the specific grief of a woman who is building something beautiful for someone else and is very good at it and cannot stop. She has chosen flowers that are exactly the flowers she would choose. She has chosen a venue that is exactly the venue she would choose. She has chosen music that she selected with the care of someone choosing for herself and filed it under someone else's name, and she has done all of this with complete professional precision. And the Thursday evening is the moment the precision takes a temporary leave. She allows it for 20 minutes. Then she stops. She washes her face. She makes notes for the next morning's vendor calls with the focused attention of a woman who has decided that the 20 minutes are done and the notes are what comes next. She goes to bed. She does not permit herself a second evening. What she does not know, what she is very careful not to know because knowing would cost her professional containment that is currently the thing keeping her functional, is that on the same Thursday evening, Jace is in his office with his phone in his hand and Warren Drummond's contact on his screen, thinking about a conversation he needs to have. He has been thinking about it for 3 weeks. He has been thinking about it since the conference room, since the way Celeste looked through Iris as though she were not there, and Iris did not blink, since the moment after the meeting when he said she was rude to you and Iris said she was direct in the tone of a woman who has spent her entire career being invisible to people who mistake precision for furniture and has decided that their inability to see her is not her problem. He has been thinking about it since he understood what that tone costs and who pays it, and that he has been sitting across a desk from the person paying it for 2 years and has not been paying sufficient attention to the price. He puts his phone down. He does not make the call tonight. He needs to be sure of what he is deciding before he decides it, because a decision has more than one set of consequences, and he does not make decisions he has not fully understood. He is 3 weeks from fully understanding it. He gives himself 3 weeks. By mid-July, the wedding planning is on schedule, and Iris is miserable. She has not told anyone this. She has not told Diane, her best friend since college, who would have opinions she is not ready to manage. She has not told her sister, who would drive up from Atlanta, and those two things in combination, Diane's opinions and her sister in Atlanta, would constitute more support than Iris currently knows what to do with, and she prefers to know what to do with the things in her life. She performs the planning with complete professionalism, and she performs her regular duties with complete professionalism, and she performs the morning coffee briefings with complete professionalism, and she goes home every evening to her apartment and is quietly, precisely, specifically miserable in the way of a woman who is doing everything right and getting the wrong result, and she has decided that this is simply the cost of the decision she made 14 months ago, and she will pay it. Because the alternative, saying something, doing something, introducing chaos into the one domain of her life that has always been fully within her control, is not acceptable. She is managing. Jace has been watching her for 3 weeks, and she does not know this. Not surveillance, not the professional monitoring. He applies the things that require monitoring. This is something else, something that is developed in the specific way of attention that was not looking for a thing and found it anyway. 2 years of the same space, the same desk, the same 10 minutes of morning coffee, and he has developed without planning to an accurate understanding of the difference between how she normally is and how she is now. She laughs less. The real laugh, the one that comes before she can manage it, that surfaces when he says something unexpected, and she has not had time to apply the professional version, has not happened in 3 weeks. Her composure has a different quality from her usual composure. Her usual composure is a preference, a choice she makes because she likes the precision of it. The current composure is a wall. He is aware of the wall. He is aware that he understands what is behind it approximately because he's been in the same room as this woman for 2 years and he's been paying attention. And the specific character of what is behind her wall is something he has been sitting with since the conference room, when Celeste looked through her and he understood, with the accuracy that is his particular gift, what it cost Iris to not react. The thing that moves him to act is a Tuesday afternoon in late July. Celeste comes to the office unannounced. This happens sometimes. She treats Han Capital with the comfortable entitlement of a woman who has decided that her future husband's offices are an extension of her own domestic domain. She comes to discuss something about the guest list. She passes Iris's desk on the way to the conference room and does not acknowledge it. Not a glance, not a pause, not the minimal social acknowledgement that one human being extends to another in a shared physical space. She passes Iris the way people pass furniture. Something in Jace's chest does something he has not felt in a long time. He identifies it after a moment as anger, not his own kind of anger, the controlled cold kind, but a different variety. The hot, specific kind that is on behalf of another person. The kind that means he has been watching something happen to someone he cares about and has reached the point where the watching is no longer sufficient. He walks out of his office. He crosses the reception area. He stands beside Iris's desk. He introduces Celeste, who has turned from the conference room direction to find him unexpectedly in the open office, to Iris Vance, he says, who has been managing every detail of this wedding for the past 6 weeks, and whose work is the reason this wedding is going to happen at all, and without whom neither of them would know what day it is or where to be. He says this in a flat, even tone he uses for things he means completely and is not inviting discussion on. Celeste looks at him. She looks at Iris. Something moves across her face, a recalibration, the expression of a woman processing information she did not expect. And she says something polished and forgettable about how impressive the planning has been, and she is so grateful, and she goes into the conference room. Iris looks at Jace. He looks at her. That was not necessary, she says. It was accurate, he says. Jace, have dinner with me, he says. Not a working dinner. Dinner. She stares at him. You are getting married in 5 months. I know when I'm getting married, he says. Have dinner with me. There is something in the specific quality of how he says this. Not a request performing as a request. Not a professional invitation. The direct, plain statement of a man who has decided something and is not going to undecide it. And this quality, the specific directness that she has been reading for 2 years, reaches her in the place she has been keeping closed for 14 months because it bypasses a professional layer entirely and lands somewhere underneath it. She says yes before she has finished deciding to. That evening, he takes her to the rooftop of his building. It is after hours. The building staff have gone. Security rotation has been managed, and there is a table set for 2 on the rooftop terrace with Chicago spread below in the specific night beauty of a city that never fully goes dark. The grid of lights in the distant dark of the lake and the sky that is the orange dark of a city that keeps itself lit even when it is supposed to be sleeping. He arranged this himself, not delegated, not organized through anyone else. And she registers this immediately because she knows the difference between what he delegates and what he does himself. And this is a second category entirely. She sits across from him at a table that has been set for her. She has organized dinners like this for him before. The closed restaurant, the private room, the specific architecture of an evening arranged around a person to communicate that the person is the point of the evening. She has organized these things for him to do for other people, and she has never been on the receiving end of one. And it is strange to be the person the evening has been arranged around rather than the person who arranged it. Strange, and something else she does not name immediately. He asks her about herself, not her professional self, not her filing systems or her vendor management or her security rotation protocols. Her, the person underneath the 2 years of mornings and the organized calendar and the wireframe glasses and professional face. Where is she from? What did she want to be before she was what she is? What has she read? What does she find funny? What does she find unbearable? Who is she when she is not being the most efficient personal assistant in the private sector? She answers because she does not know how not to answer him. 2 years of reading his questions has made her fluent in them, has made her answers arrive before her management does. And he has learned this about her, and he asks the questions with the pace that give the answers less time to be intercepted by the professional version of her. Halfway through the evening, she asks him why he is doing this. He is quiet for a moment. It is a thinking quiet, not the decided quiet. She knows the difference. Because I have spent 2 years trusting you with everything that matters, he says, and I have never asked who you are, and I would like to know. A pause. And because I have been wanting to ask for a while, and I have been doing something about it very slowly. She looks at him across the table. Chicago behind him, the specific composed quality of his face that is not coldness. She has always known it is not coldness. It is a containment of a man who holds large things carefully, and she thinks about what is just said, and what it means, and which piece of it he is telling her, and which piece he is not yet. You are engaged, she says. It is not a reminder. It is a door she is leaving open for him to close or not close. I know, he says. I am aware of everything that is true right now. I am telling you that I would like to change some of it. She goes home. She does not cry. She sits very still in her apartment with the lights on, and she thinks about the specific difference between knowing something and deciding to do something about it, and which one Jason is currently in the process of moving between. She thinks about what it would mean if he is moving. She thinks about what it would cost and what it would be worth and what she would say. She does not sleep well. In the morning, she goes to work. She sits in the chair across from his desk. She gives him the day's schedule with the complete professional precision of Iris Vance, the most efficient personal assistant in the private sector. She does not stop planning the wedding. Wait. He is engaged, and he just took her to a private rooftop dinner and asked who she really is. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe to Echoed True Stories. Drop a comment. Do you think Jace is about to do what we think he is about to do? Share this video right now, because next chapter is the chapter that changes everything. Jace calls Warren Drummond on a Wednesday morning in early August. He has been preparing for this call for 2 weeks. Not rehearsing, exactly, but thinking through the information he needs to convey and the order in which to convey it and the specific responses Warren is likely to produce and how to address them. He is a man who does not make consequential calls without understanding what the call is, and he understands what this one is. He makes it at 8:15 before Iris arrives at the office, because this is not a call he wants managed into his calendar. He tells Warren he is withdrawing from the arrangement with Celeste. He says it directly because he does not have another way of saying things that matter. He tells Warren this is his decision entirely, not a reflection on Celeste, not a reflection on the Drummond family, not a negotiating position. He tells him the business relationship between Hahn Capital and Drummond Properties can continue on its existing terms if Warren chooses. The legitimate business interests do not require a family connection to function and never did. He tells him he will make a full settlement to Celeste for the disruption, and that the amount will be whatever Celeste considers appropriate, and he means this without reservation. Warren is quiet for a long time. Then he asks why. Jace is quiet for a moment. Then he says, because I have been spending 3 weeks being angry on behalf of someone, and I have identified what that means. Warren does not fully understand this answer. He is a practical man, and the answer is not practical. But he has been in business for 40 years, and he knows when a decision has been made and the conversation has moved from outcome to terms. And this conversation has moved. They discuss terms. The terms are settled within 20 minutes because Jace is fair and Warren is realistic, and neither of them is interested in a dispute. The call ends. Jace sits at his desk for a moment. He thinks about 3 weeks of watching. He thinks about a conference room in a cream coat and the specific quality of Iris not reacting, and the specific cost of not reacting that he has been calculating since that day. He thinks about a rooftop in Chicago below and the answers that arrived before she could intercept them, and the door he left open and she left open in return. He picks up his phone. He calls Celeste directly. Celeste picks up on the third ring. He tells her the same thing he told Warren, directly, without softening it, because she deserves honesty more than she deserves comfort. He tells her the settlement is real and unconditional, and that he is sorry for the disruption. There is a silence. Then Celeste says something he does not expect. She says she was not in love with him either. She says it simply, without drama or bitterness, in the specific matter-of-fact tone of a woman who has made peace with the truth before the moment required her to. She says she hopes whatever the reason is, it was worth it. She does not ask what the reason is. She says goodbye and she ends a call, and that is the last conversation they will have. And Jace respects the cleanness of it more than he expected to. He calls Iris into his office. She comes in at 9:45, notebook, pen, the professional readiness that is her default, the face that is a composed version. And she sits in a chair across from him, and she looks at him with the specific quality of attention that is Iris Vance reading a room. She already knows something has happened. He can see this. She reads him too accurately for the specific quality of this morning to have not communicated itself. She is waiting to find out what it is. The engagement is off, he says. She is completely still. Her notebook is open. Her pen is in her hand. She does not write anything. She stops. Celeste. Yes. The wedding is canceled. She looks at him. Something crosses her face that is not the professional expression. A fracture in it. A brief instant where the composure shifts and what is underneath it is present. It is gone in a second. I have 4 months of planning, she says. The venue is booked. The florist, the caterer, the photographer, all of it is contracted. I know. I am sorry for work. Jace. She closes the notebook. She puts it on the arm of the chair. She looks at him with the real eyes. Not the professional version. Not the composed version. The ones underneath that he has been getting occasional access to for 2 years and has spent 2 years understanding the value of. Why? He looks at her across the desk. Across the same distance that has always been there between them. The professional distance. The one she has always maintained and he has always respected, and that he is about to close in the only way that makes sense. Because I would like to have dinner with you again, he says, and I am not going to do that while I am engaged to someone else. She looks at him. You canceled your engagement, she says slowly, with the specific deliberate pace of a woman processing information that she needs to process correctly, because you want to have dinner with me. I cancel my engagement, he says, because I've been in love with you for approximately a year, and I have been doing something about it very slowly, and I have decided to stop doing it slowly. The office is completely quiet. Iris Vance looks at Jace Hahn. She looks at him with the full attention that is her actual attention. Not the professional layer, not the managed version, the real one, the one that processes things faster and more completely than most people can follow. And she thinks about 14 months of a private drawer, and a Tuesday morning in June, and planning a wedding for a man she loves for a woman she had never met, and a Thursday evening crying for 20 minutes, and making vendor notes immediately after. Approximately a year, she says. Approximately, he says. Give or take a month. Give or take 14 months, she says. In case you were calculating. He goes very still. It is the real stillness, not the controlled professional stillness. Not the composure, the stillness of a man who has just received information that has changed the entire shape of what he understood to be true and is sitting inside the recalibration of it. Iris, he says, give or take exactly 14 months, she says. I have been precise about it. Why did you not say anything? She looks at her closed notebook. She looks back at him. You are my employer, she says. You are. The distance was the right distance. I am very good at maintaining correct distances. It is one of my best qualities. A pause. It has not been comfortable. No, he says. It has not been comfortable from this side either. You did not appear uncomfortable. I was not going to appear uncomfortable, he says. It is one of my best qualities. She looks at him. The composure does the thing it does when she has not managed a laugh in time. It surfaces real and full and entirely hers, the laugh that comes before she can apply the professional version, and it fills the office with the specific sound of Iris Vance being entirely herself in a room with him for the first time in 2 years. He listens to it and thinks that this specific sound is the thing he's been moving toward for 14 months without knowing it had a name. He stands up. He crosses the desk. The professional distance, the one that has always been there, the one they have both always maintained, and he stands in front of her chair, and he takes her hand and holds it in both of his, and he looks at her with a specific directness that is how he does everything that matters. Everything is decided on and is not going to undecide. She looks at their hands. She looks at him. I have 4 months of wedding planning, she says. I know. The venue is booked. The florist, the caterer, the photographer, the string quartet, the Iris. Yes. Would any of those bookings need to be changed if the bride were different? She looks at him. She processes this. She is very good at processing things quickly, and what she is processing is a man who is standing in front of her chair holding both her hands and asking her if the wedding she spent 4 months planning can be used for a wedding he is proposing right now, in this office, across the same desk she has sat across every morning for 2 years. She thinks about the venue, the Meridian Grand Ballroom, which she chose because it is the right size and the right security infrastructure, and also because it is beautiful, specifically beautiful, the kind of beautiful she would choose for something that mattered. She thinks about the flowers, white and deep green, eucalyptus and ranunculus, clean and elegant, and exactly what she would choose for herself. The string quartet, the menu, the December date. The invitation list would need to change, she says, significantly. Yes. And the dress. Yes. Everything else is transferable. Then we do not need to start over, he says. We only need to change the parts that were wrong. She looks at him, this man, this specific man, sharp, angular jaw and dark almond eyes, and the composure that is not coldness but containment, the man she has loved for 14 months in a private drawer and gone to work every morning and done everything correctly and been precisely and specifically miserable for a season and made vendor notes after crying for 20 minutes and not permitted herself a second evening. And she thinks about the difference between the most efficient personal assistant in the private sector and the woman underneath that. And she thinks that the woman underneath has been waiting, patient and contained, for this exact moment. Yes, she says, not to the question about the bookings, to the question he has not asked yet in words, but which has been in the room since he stood up from behind the desk. He looks at her. He understands. He does not need to explain, and she did not expect him to. He is still holding both her hands. She looks at that, their hands, is holding hers, the professional distance closed, and she thinks this is what changes when you stop doing something slowly. The next 6 weeks are the most unusual of Iris Vance's professional life. She is simultaneously the personal assistant of the groom and the bride. She has thought about the structural situation, and she has decided that it does not require a new system. It requires the same system applied with different parameters, which is simply what she does when circumstances change. The invitation list is rebuilt from scratch, which she does in 2 days because she is Iris, and she had already made a private list of who she would invite to her own wedding approximately 8 months ago for reasons she did not fully examine at the time. The dress requires 6 weeks of lead time, which a designer she contacts tells her is impossible. She tells the designer that impossible is not a useful category, and she needs a timeline, not a category. The designer produces a timeline. The seating plan is restructured. The guest list is rebuilt. The details that were Celeste's are replaced with details that are hers. And she discovers, in this process, that most of the details were already hers. The flowers she chose are exactly the flowers she would choose. The music she selected is exactly the music she would select. The venue she booked is exactly the venue she would book. The menu she approved is exactly the menu she would approve. She has, it turns out, been planning her own wedding for 4 months without knowing it, which she finds, one she has sat with for a morning, deeply characteristic of herself. She is the kind of woman whose preferences are consistent whether or not she knows who they are for. She plans the remaining 6 weeks with the same efficiency she would plan anyone else's wedding, in a specific added dimension of caring very much about the result, which turns out not to change her methodology, but to deepen her investment in each decision in a way she finds, to her slight surprise, enjoyable. Jace observes this process. He watches her plan with the specific admiration of a man watching someone do the thing they are best in the world applied to something that is personally about him, and he finds it clarifying in a way that watching someone be fully themselves is always clarifying. He tells her at one point, with the careful diplomacy of a man who has decided to be honest about something he knows will not land well, that she does not have to manage all of it herself. They can hire a professional wedding planner if she would like to simply be the bride. She looks at him with the expression she uses when someone has said something that does not require a full response. I am a professional wedding planner, she says. I have been planning this wedding for 4 months. I am not handing it to someone else with 6 weeks remaining. He does not suggest it again. He considers this the correct response to the expression she used. There is something else that needs to be addressed before December, and Jace addresses it the same week they understand what they are to each other. He calls his attorney. He tells him the cooperation timeline matters now in a way it did not before. There is a woman he intends to marry. He says this with the specific direct simplicity of a man for whom this is already a fact, even though the wedding is 6 weeks away, and he is not going to ask her to begin a life with the weight of the network over it. The process needs to finish. He would like his attorney to find a way to make it finish faster than the current projected timeline. His attorney tells him the process cannot be rushed. Federal cooperation agreements have their own timeline, and the timeline is not subject to personal circumstances. Jace tells his attorney that he would like him to find a way anyway. His attorney, who has been Jace Hahn's attorney for 9 years and understands what this tone of voice means, find a way. The cooperation agreement concludes 6 weeks before the wedding, faster than the Federal Contacts Office anticipated, completed with the specific efficiency of a man who has decided that something needs to be done and has applied himself completely to doing it. The network is formally dissolved. Hahn Capital is restructured as a legitimate private equity firm. The board is expanded. The governance is clean. The documents are real and complete. The federal case is closed. His attorney sends a final document to Jace's office by courier on a Thursday morning. Jace reads it. He puts on Iris's desk with a note that says, "Done." She reads at her desk. She reads it twice with a focused attention. She gives everything that matters. She puts in the file she keeps the things that matter, a physical file, paper, the kind she has kept since she was 22 because she has always believed that the things that matter most deserve to exist in a form more permanent than a screen. She goes to his office. She stands across from him. "You accelerated the timeline," she says. "Yes. Your attorney said it could not be rushed. He found a way. You did it for me." He looks at her. "I did it because it needed to be done," he says. "And because the reason it needed to be done was you. Both of those things are true, and I am not going to separate them to make either of them sound more impressive." She looks at him for a moment. This man, the specific honesty of him, the way he says things that are true without decorating them. And then she goes back to her desk because there are vendor calls to make, and 6 weeks is not a lot of time, and she is not going to be the kind of bride who lets the logistics slip because she is having feelings about a cooperation agreement. He hears her on the phone through the office door. Clear, authoritative, the complete professional confidence of a woman who knows exactly what she is doing and expects the person on the other end to know it too. He smiles. He does not do this often. His security team will note among themselves in the following weeks a new development and one they find, though they would not say this out loud. A significant improvement. The wedding is on the 14th of December at the Meridian Grand Ballroom at 6 in the evening, which is exactly when Iris booked it in June when she thought she was planning someone else's wedding. The ballroom is exactly as she specified. The flowers are white and deep green, eucalyptus and ranunculus arranged in the clean, elegant way of someone who knows what she wants and wanted it months before she knew she was wanting it for herself. The lighting is warm and specific, exactly as she specified. The string quartet plays at the entrance exactly as she planned. The catering is a menu she approved in August with the adjustment to the dessert course she recommended, and which is, everyone at the reception will note, exactly right. Every detail of this evening is a detail she chose. She wears a dress that took 6 weeks and a very motivated designer who will later describe the project as the most demanding and most satisfying commission of her career. It is ivory with a deep green sash at the waist, the same deep green as the eucalyptus, which is not a coincidence, but a decision she made at 2 in the morning 6 weeks ago when she understood that she wanted the whole evening to be coherent, to belong to itself entirely. She puts it on in the bridal suite of the Meridian Grand, and she knows the moment it settles on her shoulders that it is exactly right, in the specific way that things are exactly right when they were made for the person wearing them. Her wedding party is small. 2 women who have known her since before she was anyone's assistant. Diane is her maid of honor, who cried when Iris called her in August and has not stopped being delighted since, who has sent approximately 47 text messages in the 6 weeks of planning, containing variations that I told you, so which Iris has not responded to because responding would be encouraging and also because Diane is correct. Her younger sister flew in from Atlanta yesterday evening and spent this morning telling Iris she told her so in a tone of complete and uncomplicated satisfaction. Iris is very happy. She is also, characteristically, slightly irritated by the volume of "I told you," so she is receiving from people who could not possibly have told her so because she never told them the situation that would have enabled them to tell her so, and she has decided this is simply what love costs in terms of forfeiting the last word, and she has decided the cost is acceptable. She walks to the entrance of the ballroom. The doors are closed. The string quartet is playing the piece she selected. Through the door she can hear the room, the specific warm quality of 400 people assembled for something that matters, the low-register conversation, and the sound of a room that is ready. Diane squeezes her hand. Iris squeezes back. She looks at the doors. She thinks about a Tuesday morning in June and a notebook she opened without letting him see her face, and a project file she labeled Han Wedding. December and the specific irony of what that label turned out to mean. She thinks about 20 minutes on a Thursday evening, and vendor notes immediately after. She thinks about 400 vendor emails and a florist who initially quoted her the wrong ranunculus, and a caterer she had to renegotiate twice, and a seating plan she rebuilt from scratch in 2 days, and a designer who told her 6 weeks was impossible and was wrong. She thinks about being the most efficient personal assistant in the private sector and the woman underneath that, and the distance she maintained for 14 months, and the distance that closed on a Wednesday morning in his office when he stood up from behind his desk. The doors open. The ballroom is exactly as she specified, and she knew it would be because she specified it. She walks into it, through the flowers she chose, toward the music she selected, toward the man at the end of the aisle. Jace is waiting at the altar in a dark suit. He is still in a way that is his default. The composed, controlled stillness, the specific quality of man who does not perform his waiting, because waiting is simply what is happening and performing it would be a waste. And then she is close enough to see his face clearly, and what she sees is not the composure. What she sees is simply him. Underneath it, Jace, the man, the one she has been reading for 2 years and has understood. She realizes in this moment, more completely than she knew, the stillness is not coldness. She has always known it is not coldness. It is containment, the specific careful quality of a man holding something very large very carefully, because he does not want to spill it before he can give it properly. He is looking at her. He is looking at her the way he looks at the things that matter most, completely, precisely, with the full weight of his attention, and she walks toward him, and the distance between them closes in a specific incremental way of distances that have been maintained for a long time and are now being permanently undone. The ceremony is everything she planned it to be. At the reception, when the dancing has started and the room is warm with the specific quality of 400 people who are exactly where they're supposed to be, Jace finds her at the edge of the floor. She is watching the room. Of course she is watching the room. She planned it, and she is checking that it is working, which it is, which she knows, and which she is checking anyway because she is Iris Vance, and she does not stop being Iris Vance because she got married. She has made peace with this about herself, and she believes he has made peace with it also. He stands beside her. Everything is perfect, he says. Of course it is, she says. I planned it. He looks at her, this woman, this specific woman, who planned 4 months of a wedding for a man she loved for a woman she had never met, and said yes, of course, and went as a date and opened her notebook and did not let him see her face. And he thinks that the most efficient personal assistant in the private sector is also the most remarkable person he has ever been in a room with, and that he has known this for approximately 14 months, and that the 14 months were a long time, and he is glad they are behind him. You planned it for someone else, he says. She looks at the room, the flowers, the lighting, the string quartet now playing something different from the ceremony piece, the specific beautiful evening. That is exactly what she would have chosen if she had been choosing for herself, which she was. I planned it for the right person, she says. I just did not know yet that the right person was me. He takes her hand. She looks at their hands, the same hand she looked at in his office 6 weeks ago when he crossed a professional distance. And then she looks at the room she planned, and the flowers she chose, and the people who are in it, and the evening that is exactly what it is supposed to be. I have one complaint, she says. Tell me? I did not get to be surprised by any of it. A bride is supposed to be surprised. He is quiet for a moment. Then, I have something for you. He takes an envelope from his inside jacket pocket. She did not know it was there. She does not know everything about his jacket pockets, which he finds slightly satisfying as a discovery. He holds it out to her. She opens it. Inside is a reservation confirmation. A hotel in Kyoto. She knows the name of it because she researched it 18 months ago when she was thinking about where she would go if she could go anywhere and decided it was too expensive for a solo trip and filed a thought in the not yet drawer. 2 weeks. The specific suite she did not book because she did not know she was planning her own honeymoon. Every detail she did not choose. Every detail chosen by him. She looks at the confirmation. She looks at him. You planned the honeymoon, she says. I planned the part you could not plan, he says. Everything else you did better than I could have. But you deserved one thing you did not already know was coming. She looks at this man. Sharp, angular jaw, dark almond eyes, the tattoos and composure, and a love she has been keeping in a private drawer for 14 months that is now not private at all, that is standing beside her in the Meridian Grand Ballroom in the dress she chose, and the flowers she chose, and the evening she planned. And she thinks about the specific perfection of two people who are very good at different things building something that requires all of them. She puts the confirmation back in the envelope. She takes his hand. Next time, she says, tell me sooner. Next time, he says, so will you? She laughs. The real one, the full one, the one that comes before she can manage it. And it fills the ballroom with the specific sound of Iris Vance being entirely herself, which is a sound Jace Hahn has been moving toward for 14 months without knowing it had a name, and which he now knows the name of and intends to hear for the rest of his life. The music plays. They dance. And the evening is exactly what she planned it to be, which is to say it is perfect, because Iris Vance does not plan anything that is not. And that is the most beautiful ending. A woman who planned her own wedding without knowing it, and a man who planned the one thing she could not plan for herself. If this story moved you, smash that like button, subscribe to Echo True Stories, and share this video with someone who believes that the right love finds you even when you are busy planning someone else's. Drop a comment. What was the moment you knew Iris was always going to be the bride? We read every single one. See you in the next story.